Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Gradcracker webinar, where I'm excited to be joined by CERN. CERN is a European organisation for nuclear research, where engineers and physicists and many more types of people use the world's largest and most complex scientific instruments to study the fundamental particles and concepts of our universe. CERN has advertised on Gradcracker for the last 6 years, and are also a proud sponsor of the Gradcracker Toolkit. Ladies, you've got one to hold up. Yay! Thank you very much. So today we're going to be hearing about how you, our STEM students, could end up working for a place like nowhere else on Earth. Thank you, Priscilla. Like nowhere else on Earth, so let's jump in. Firstly, let's start by meeting Barbara and Priscilla. So Priscilla joined us on the last webinar, so a familiar face. So Barbara, I'm going to start with you. Tell us all about your role at CERN.
Thanks for having us, first of all.
No problem.
Yeah, so I started my journey at CERN as an administrative student, and now I'm an Origin graduate, as we call them. And I work in talent acquisition with Priscilla. So, next to all our various operational recruitment tasks, like looking at applications and doing interviews and so on, I also do outreach and employer branding, so in specific for the UK and Israel, but of course not limited to. And then I'm also involved in various onboarding activities, like welcoming all our newcomers every month.
Perfect. So you will be a familiar face as well, Barbara. So thank you for that. And Priscilla, remind everybody about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I've been working at CERN for the last 5 years under the talent acquisition team, and my role is quite varied and has been changing a little bit across the years. But essentially, I'm here to attract candidates, especially students and recent graduates, to join our organization. So I work together with Barbara in various social media campaigns in different member states. My focus right now for sourcing, so to reach out to students, it's mainly Sweden, but I support other countries as well. Administrative recruitment activities and statistics together with Barbara for a lot of different programs that we hire students, graduates, and professionals to CERN. So yeah, it's varied.
Perfect, lovely, thank you. And for those of you who are watching who doesn't know who CERN is, Priscilla, tell us what CERN does.
Sure. So CERN is the European Laboratory for Particle Physics, and our primary activity is to study the smallest building blocks of matter and explore the fundamental forces that shapes our universe. But how? Smashing particles at high speed using a succession of machines in the CERN's accelerator complex, which ends with the Large Hadron Collider, our most famous accelerator. At CERN, we refer to the Large Hadron Collider as the fastest racetrack on the planet, where trillions of protons race inside the 27-kilometer ring collider in opposite directions over 11,000 times per second, which the STEM audience out there knows quickly that the protons are traveling very close to the speed of light. Yeah. So CERN aims to uncover the mysteries of the universe by investigating the properties and behaviors of subatomic particles such as bosons, protons, neutrons, and by doing so push through unraveling questions about the nature of matter, the origins of the universe, and the enigmatic dark matter that fills the universe. But do not worry, you do not have to be a physicist, have 3 PhDs, a Nobel Prize to come and join us. So we are located in the border between Switzerland and France in Geneva. And we are also an international community. We are formed by 23 member states, 10 associate member states, many other countries around the globe that contributes to CERN in different ways. 9,000 people are on site on average every day. It ranges from students, diplomats, famous people too. So last week we had Brian Cox at CERN, recording the Infinite Monkey Cage, and I had a picture of him. So this is so cool.
Oh, that is cool.
So where else?
Priscilla, you'll have to send us that. And
yeah, to make you envy, to make you all.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So yeah, essentially CERN is where curiosity takes center stage. And so stay tuned, all the students out there, to learn how can you join CERN.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you very much, Priscilla. So what we're going to do now is speak to Barbara. So Barbara's going to tell us all about the student and graduate opportunities which you currently have advertised on your hub on Gradcracker.
Yeah, with pleasure. So there's quite a few. So I'm
There is.
I'm just gonna start with the student opportunities and with that the technical student program that we have. And this program is kind of like an internship or placement year program. So you can join CERN anywhere in between 4 to 14 months in total. And of course, the longer you stay, the higher the chances are a bit because our hiring managers and supervisors, of course, they don't want to train a new student every month or so. But we have many projects that are like 4 months long as well. So there's something there for all preferences, I would say, or availabilities.
Absolutely.
And that's student program, so it's open to all to all nationals of our member and associate member states. So Priscilla mentioned we have 23 member states and 10 associate member states, so there's quite a collection. And then you have to have completed 18 months or 3 semesters of undergraduate studies at the selection time. And we published a technical studentship in 6 different vacancies. So there's 6 different domains that we kind of summarize. So there's IT, mathematics and robotics, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electronics engineering, and so on. So again, they're all published on Gradcracker, and then you can just kind of read through what they entail and pick the best one. And of course, if you're eligible and qualified for more than one field, then of course apply to more at the same time. So that's also possible, and we get that quite a lot. And yeah, so that's a program that's open at the moment until the 11th of March. So there's still a bit of time, but of course it takes a while to put together your application and then also gather all the documents you need. So for example, you need ACV and a transcript, but then also a recommendation letter by your university professor or tutor. And that can take a bit of time. So make sure, to plan ahead.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is, we're probably not going to have the audience for this, but we also have the administrative student program, which is very similar for administrative background people. If you have any friends that want to come along to CERN with you, that's possible. And then the last student opportunity is a summer student program, which is open until the end of January. So this is a bit shorter, so it's anywhere between 8 and 13 weeks. And it involves more than just an internship, I would say. So we usually welcome 300 students from all nationalities. So last year we had 96 different nationalities in this program. And the students are all at CERN at the same time. They work on projects. They go to lectures that are organized especially for them, where we have lecturers from all over the world, visits, workshops, after work events, and so on. And most of them stay at our CERN hostel, so on site, and they all stay in the same building, and that's quite cool. Go camping on the summer, on the weekends, and so on.
Definitely got friends for life there then as well, haven't you? When you all meet up.
Yeah. So yeah, really cool program. And as for graduates, we currently have the Origin program open, so for early career professionals, which is anywhere in between 6 months and 36 months. So you can stay up to 3 years in that program. And most positions are open for 1 to 2 years, I'd say. So that's the preference from CERN supervisors. And if you're about to graduate or if you have graduated recently, then that's the program for you. So you can have a maximum of 2 years of work experience. Since your latest degree, so for example, if you have a bachelor's degree, worked in between, then you have a master's degree, then we start counting from the most recent relevant degree. And yeah, if you don't have any work experience yet, that's no problem at all. And CERN is here to train talent as well. So we don't, as Priscilla said, we don't expect you to have a Nobel Prize. You can come to CERN from the beginning on. And this program is currently open, but only till tomorrow. So that's quite would be very spontaneous, but we do open it again in March. So for those students or recent graduates that are interested, don't worry, it's going to be back pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then of course, yeah, we have other programs for more experienced graduates as well. So for example, the Quest program is for master's and PhD graduates with 2 to 6 years of experience.
Perfect. I'm just going to go on and ask you about the PhD opportunities. So just so everybody understands where you're coming from then, Barbara. So on Gradcracker at the moment, you've got your undergraduate opportunities, you've also got your graduate opportunities and opportunities for masters and PhD level students. So make sure after this webinar, you go to the CERN Hub on Gradcracker and get your applications in and give them a quick follow as well to be alerted when the new opportunities open, like Barbara said, in March. Thank you very much, Priscilla and Barbara. So what we're going to do now is move on and meet the grads. So we've got Leah, Sonia and Lauren all found the jobs through Gradcracker at CERN. So Jess, over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Carla. Okay, so what we want to find out first is where you went to university, what you studied, and when you joined CERN. So Leah, I will come to you first, if that's okay.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing my experience so far working at CERN. So my background, I studied physics at the University of Oxford, and I finished my second year of undergrad last summer, and then took a year out to come work as a technical student at CERN. So as Barbara mentioned, I'm doing like a 12-month technical studentship in applied physics, and I started last July.
Perfect. Lovely intro. Thank you very much for that, Leah. Sonia, going to come to you next, if that's okay. Same question. Oh, love, you're on mute.
Sorry, let me start.
No,
that's okay.
I went to Queen Mary University in London, and I finished my master's in artificial intelligence. And before that, I did a bachelor's in computer science. And so I joined CERN in September as a graduate in the early career professional program, which was the Origin one.
Perfect. And Sonia, I can't wait to hear your story because, you know, for some computing students, might not necessarily think, you know, they can have a career at CERN, you know, might think that CERN are only recruiting from, you know, kind of science and engineering background. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about you and why CERN and the role that you're involved in now. So thank you very much for that. And Laura, last but not least, yeah, if you could just introduce where you went to university, what you studied, and when did you join CERN?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Exeter. And I did an integrated master's in physics, and I'm also part of the Origin program, so I'm a graduate.
Perfect. Good stuff. Thanks, Laura. Okay, so as we say, we want to hear more about your journeys at CERN so far. Why CERN? And I am just so excited to be speaking to you. I love speaking to, you know, doing this webinar every year. I get so excited. I'm like a little girl, like, oh, damn it. Is it as good as you can imagine it to be working at CERN? So I want to hear all the gossip. I want to know what's been going on and what are you up to. So Leah, I'm going to come to you first. What is life like at CERN?
Yeah, no, it's really, really great. So I started like 6 months ago. And like looking back, I remember when I first started, like I was thinking, a year away from my family and friends, it's going to be like really long, it's going to be hard. And I was really nervous when I started, you know, like being immersed in a completely different country and working at like a famous like institute. I didn't want to mess anything up. But honestly, it's been like anything but stressful and scary. Like it's been like the people here are really lovely and they help you settle in. They have like lots of like introduction sessions, which I assume Barbara's working on, like the Connecting the Dots events. And like they let you meet people who are in the same situation as you, which is what I really needed. Like, you know, so you feel like a sort of like you feel like at home with these people. And then so in the past 6 months, I've worked on some really cool projects. So I come from a physics background, so obviously I love everything to do with physics, and being at CERN is an absolute dream of mine. So in the 6 months, I spent the first few months probably just, you know, really catching up on what CERN actually does, how they're operating. So I sat in on a lot of meetings, you know, at the start it was very confusing, you know, lots of like words, a lot of things I'd never heard about. But as the weeks went by, I learned a lot more, which is really nice. So now I have a bit more confidence when it comes to, you know, trying out different approaches and like speaking up my ideas when it comes to meetings.
Yeah.
And then finally, I've also signed up and trained to be a CERN guide, which I think is really, really cool.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For those of you who, for those of you who do come, I definitely recommend it. They like put a lot of effort in organizing these great workshops to train new guides. And here you get the opportunity to like not only share your passion for physics, but also get to visit like a lot of the cool experiments and detectors. So I got to go like underground and like see all of the cool experiments, see where the magic is at. And yeah, it's been really, really good.
So, Leah, you've all got kind of similar pictures behind you, but I really do love your background because it does give you an idea of what the actual environment is like. So, have you walked down the tunnel and into the tunnel? So, you're actually in the Hadron Collider there, aren't you? Is that right?
Yeah, so behind me is
like physically sat there. Obviously, no, you're not.
Yeah, no, it'd be cool if I was, but so this is the LHC tunnel. So I haven't been in the LHC tunnel because the people who go there usually work on the magnets and things.
Right.
So I've gone down to the experiments where like the which are the detectors that surround the beam pipes at certain points, and they record where the collisions happen. So hopefully in the future I do get a chance to go to the tunnels because like looking back it's really cool. But not yet.
Not yet. That's fine. It's on the to-do list. So, Leah, it sounds as though I always mention the word responsibility in these webinars because, again, I think a lot of these employers that we speak to, and especially CERN by the sounds of it, they're giving you the responsibility. You get in kind of, fully kind of engrossed in these projects. You're getting involved to speaking to, lots of different people. And it sounds as though they're giving you that responsibility. And it sounds like you felt that you handed projects, you're networking, and you're really kind of engrossed in the process, even this early stage of the placement.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really surprised actually. Like when I first started, like my supervisor, she's really lovely. Like she was always like keeping contact with me, seeing how I was getting on. And once I was feeling a bit more confident, she immediately started putting me on like the actual projects, and she told me how they would fit in with the rest of like the timeline of how the group wanted to get things done. And like I could see very clearly like this is what I need to do, and it's for this reason. And like I would like, it was basically up to me to figure out the best solution to fix this problem or to solve this part, which I thought was really, really like cool.
Yeah. And do you know what, you made a nice comment there as well, that you've got that contact that almost would catch you if you're going to fall, or not put you in a situation where if you weren't confident enough. So it must be nice to have that person where you can reach out, ask questions, and have a familiar face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. Perfect. Well, thank you, Leah. Sonia, I'm going to come to you. If you could let us know what's your journey so far been like at CERN.
Yeah, sure. So I joined CERN, as I mentioned, in September last year, and I work as a graduate software developer. And I'm part of the RF group, which is radio frequency group at CERN, and within my team, we specialize in building and maintaining the superconducting cavities that are fitted around the accelerators. And these are what are responsible for accelerating the particles in the accelerators for the experiments.
Okay.
And and so my project is focused on finding defects in the inner surface of the RF cavity. And it's about designing a software system that can process a large amount of images that we've retrieved from a robotic acquisition system, and merging these images together and then identifying defects, such as exploring the use of machine learning in this instance, and trying to visualize this information in a useful graphical user interface. And
that sounds amazing. Wow. So for you, just to go back a step, so why CERN? Obviously, you meant, is it artificial intelligence that you had your interest in when you're at university? Why did you decide to apply to CERN in the first place? What was the initial attraction for you?
First, it's I guess it's a research environment, and I really like the idea of contributing to something useful in that sense. And also the project really piqued my curiosity because I was studying an artificial intelligence degree, and I wanted to kind of continue developing my career in that field. And it just seemed like an interesting area to apply AI in. Even though I don't have much of a physics background, I thought it would be kind of interesting to see how I could apply AI in this very niche area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the main reasons why I applied.
And Sonia, did you feel by not having a physics background, you know, when you put your application in, did you feel a disadvantage at all? Was you a bit more nervous? You know, anyone that's listening that's, you know, similar to yourself, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, initially I was probably a bit nervous about like not knowing enough physics to sort of fit in this type of environment.
Yeah.
But I think that's completely not true since joining. I've had a really good experience. I work in a lovely team who are also physicists and engineers, but everyone's really approachable to ask questions and help each other out. And so I've not had this issue of feeling that I couldn't understand anything what's going on, sort of thing. And I find that after sort of 3 months on, naturally my knowledge is sort of improved, and I feel like I have a bit more understanding of how these systems work, which is also like an added bonus.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned a bit kind of what life is like now for you and the project that you're working on. So tell us a bit kind of your day to day. How often do you run these experiments? How often do you get to make those changes? Tell us how that works.
Okay, sure. So I don't I'm not actually part of any of the experiments
Okay.
at CERN. My day-to-day is I work with my team quite closely, and it's quite informal with us. We normally meet in the morning for like a coffee to catch up and discuss about work and other work stuff. So it's quite nice that it's quite casual in that sense.
Yeah.
And so at this stage of the project, I'm collaborating quite close with the robotics team. And we are sort of in the process of retrieving the images that they have taken of the RF cavity. So they've constructed a robotic arm with a camera attached, and it goes inside the cavity and it's able to take these images of the inner surface of the RF cavity. And it's quite huge. So each image set is composed of about 20,000 images, which is approximately 1 terabyte of data. So part of my challenge is to sort of process this huge information of data, and then try to find useful information that is meaningful to us. So in our case, we're interested in finding defects. And and so it's sort of doing a lot of data analysis is kind of part of my role at the moment, and trying to present this information in a meaningful manner.
So what then happens, Sonia, if you do find a defect? What would that then entail?
It's quite useful for the quality assurance of the RF cavity that we produce. So right now, it's quite difficult to know what's inside an RF cavity. So it's quite interesting to the RF community in general to see, okay, what type of defects, and if we're able to categorize them, it's added information for them as part of their quality checks in that process of things.
Yeah, makes sense. Perfect. Thank you so much, Sonia. We're going to come back to you a little bit later on and find out a bit more about the team and everything else. So thank you so much for that introduction. I know we delved a bit there. Laura, I'm going to come to you. Similar kind of question. What's your journey been like so far at CERN?
Yeah, so it's been really good and I've enjoyed it a lot so far. I only started in October.
Yeah.
So up until now, I've basically just been helping my supervisors on some projects so I can get the hang of what my day-to-day job is and will be, and also settling in. Obviously moved to Geneva for this job. And also I work with a team that is mostly French speaking, so I've been also taking French lessons.
Oh, fantastic.
But yeah, it's been a lot of data analysis similar to Sonia, working in the lab and learning what all the equipment is and what it's for, and just getting used to the idea of, I guess, running experiments and working on projects maybe more independently than I did at university. So
Laura, if you don't mind me asking, I like this question, but you know, why CERN? Obviously, I know why CERN, because CERN to me is like the pinnacle if you were a STEM student. But for you, why CERN? Why did you make the decision? And what's it been like for you?
Honestly, kind of the same. My mum was really into CERN all while I was growing
Okay.
up, so I grew up learning about CERN and like what an amazing place it is, and just to me, it's always been this really famous scientific research center. And for me, it's actually kind of like a dream job. I've always wanted to work at CERN.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely sure that I ever would be working at CERN, just because, as I said, it was like the pinnacle of
Yeah.
the field kind of thing. But honestly, it's been really good. Similar to the other two, my supervisors have been very helpful. My coworkers have been really helpful, answered questions when I've had them, even if maybe, you know, with a physics degree and like this job, I would be expected to know certain things. Like they don't make me feel bad if I have to ask a question that I should know, kind of thing. And it's nice to just be in an environment where everyone's really happy to share their work and is really excited about the stuff that they do.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So, Laura, tell us a bit more about kind of your day-to-day, what life is like. So, obviously, you've said a lot, you know, since October is kind of more about, last few webinars, I keep saying the word onboarding, but, you know, kind of getting used to life at CERN. So kind of onboarding process, what's it kind of entailed? What's your kind of day-to-day looking like?
So I've been helping my supervisors on some projects. So some people might have heard of AMS, which is one of the experiments that is at CERN. I have been helping one of my supervisors with some sensors on that. And I've already had a work trip to Italy for that. And it's just been a lot of data analysis from that project.
Yeah.
I've also, as I said, I've just been
used to life.
Yeah,
It's
getting used to
fun.
life, getting used to living here, and
doing a bit of skiing. We talked about everyone that's listening. We talked before this webinar, before we went live, what we're doing this weekend. Laura's going to do a bit of skiing, aren't you?
Yeah, the weekend. It's quite surreal just being able to go at the weekend.
Yeah, and just do what you want to do. It sounds amazing. So thank you so much, Laura, for that introduction. Leah, I'm going to come back to you and just want to delve a bit deeper on and go real technical on me, because there's going to be people listening that want to hear the juicy stuff, and it's going to go well over my head, but absolutely go for it and tell us a bit more about the projects that you've been working on so far.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. So I'm working in the BRIL group, which stands for the Beam, Radiation, Instrumentation and Luminosity. And our job is to basically provide to CMS, which is the experiment I'm working in, the luminosity. And what luminosity is the number of collisions in the detector per second. So if you imagine what the NHC does is they collide bunches of protons together. They basically just continuously do this. And in each bunch, there are 100 billion protons. And then when they collide, you expect like a lot of them to collide. But because protons are so small, you only end up with like around 60 per collision actually colliding. So what my group does is it basically is trying to detect or count how many collisions are happening, because that number is very important for determining some other like important physical properties.
Yeah.
And so my particular job is working on the design and upgrade of the new subdetector that will be doing this, which is really exciting. Yeah, there's a lot of things that needs to be done, and I'm sort of just going around, and whenever someone needs something to be done, I'm there. So
pick me, I want to do it.
yeah,
like
exactly.
a fun. So in terms of kind of the future then of CERN, because obviously Priscilla and Barbara, I don't know if you want to add to this as well, there's a lot of exciting future plans, isn't there, for CERN, and what you want to do in the future for, you know, new experiments, new projects. So Leo, for you working on that and, you know, obviously having your input, I can imagine you would want to come back once you've, you know, finished your degree. So in terms of getting involved in those projects, what have you been up to and what's the responsibility you've had there?
Yep. So I've been here for the 6 months. I've been working on numerous things. So my two biggest projects were one working on the on-detector cooling for this new subdetector. So as I mentioned before, with these collisions, we're getting charged particles thrown out in all directions. And what the FBCM, that's the name of our subdetector. I don't know why, it's just a bunch of letters thrown together.
Oh, so it's not an acronym or anything.
It is. It's just a very, like, it doesn't make much sense, but that's the name of it.
Well, if it don't make sense to you, Thea, that's fine. It makes sense to me. Go for it.
So the FBCM is basically two rings so if the beamline is like this, the rings are on either side, and they have silicon sensors, which basically whenever a charged particle goes through, it like counts it. And so I've done a bit of testing of these silicon sensors. So you take them into the lab, you get a big batch, and we're basically doing sort of quality assurance on these sensors. So testing the capacitance and the current profiles of these, and also how they change when you irradiate them. So radiation is obviously a big problem in the detector, and after you experience a lot of radiation, you're going to see some changes.
Yeah.
And then, so the cooling of these sensors are also quite useful, because to reduce the noise and help improve its like resistance to the radiation, the colder you get them, the better it is. So I've been working on designing different sort of cooling pipes using like simulations and lab testings. So basically, I just run some like simulations using ANSYS, fiddle with like the shape of the pipe, the size, the materials, and see whatever works the best.
And Leah, how do you get everything to the right temperature?
So we're using carbon dioxide in the pipes. So the carbon dioxide is running at -35 degrees. So we're involving cryogenics here. It's not as cold as the magnets, which are like near 0 Kelvin, but it's still pretty cold.
Fantastic. And I'm going to talk rubbish here and I'm going to embarrass myself. But Priscilla, you know, on our last webinar that we ran with you guys, you explained to us the is it the atom that you put within the is actually tiny? Oh no, I'm going to embarrass myself.
What do you mean? Maybe, but
you know the
protons.
Yes, the protons.
Beams. Okay, yes, the beams that goes inside the collider. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Learned something there. But yeah, they are actually really, really small, aren't they? And isn't it something that you can buy from the CERN shop? What's it that you can buy?
You can buy, I mean, as a souvenir, you can buy the different kinds of particles, and you can even do a test online.
Yes.
If you go to CERN website, I think this is what I'm referring to know like what particle matches your personality, and if and if you're that excited about it, you can go to the CERN souvenir shop and buy your own badge and your own pin of the particular, I don't know, the particle that matches you. I forgot which particle matches me, but yeah.
Priscilla, just going off slightly as well about kind of the future of CERN and the projects, that CERN are wanting to go into in the future. And is there anything that you want to kind of mention within the webinar and the future of CERN and what that's looking like?
There is a feasibility project going on. I don't know, Leo or Laura or Sonia, if you are at all involved in that, however small or however, yeah, I'm not sure, but it is what is called the FCC, which is the Future Circular Collider, if I'm not mistaken, still feasibility study. So we are hiring every year students, graduates, and professionals to evaluate how concrete can it become. It hasn't started yet, but it's just going to, I think, essentially just collide particles with even higher temperatures, and hopefully this will bring even more insights about the where we all came from and the origins of. But honestly, I would throw it to Leo a little bit, or Laura, to if you can elaborate my non-scientific explanation. But this is one that it's on our daily radar, and I hear a lot, oh, we're gonna hire another I don't know, like students for the FCC feasibility project.
Oh, yeah, and just to kind of sorry to jump in, to explain the size of it, that it's like hopefully is going to be if the feasibility study goes through. So right now our the LHC, our biggest accelerator, is 27 kilometers long, and then the FCC is supposed to be 100 kilometers long. So like insanely huge, and I think also because of the size. Again, I'm not from a scientific background either, but as far as I understand, like because it's so long, we can accelerate the particles even more,
Yeah.
make them faster, and then gain more insights and more explanations about the particles that exist and their behavior. But yeah, Leo,
We've got
I
no
think
idea when
know
this
more.
will be built, Barbara.
Sorry?
We've got any ideas when this will be built?
Ooh, that goes beyond my knowledge.
Soon.
Future.
One day. The future. Sorry, Leah, I totally rudely interrupted there. So tell us a bit more about your day-to-day then. So what's the team like that you're working with? What else have you been involved in?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a pretty small group, but we're
Yeah.
really close knit. So like I'm pretty like comfortable talking to anyone in the group if I have a certain thing that I'm struggling with, or if I'm like, looking for a different sort of view on a problem I'm having. Like it's really easy just to knock on someone's door and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is my approach. Do you have any like suggestions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of the day-to-day, I get here around 8:30. So I live in Mehan, which is very close. And I get here at 8:30 and I leave around 6. So a pretty decent work day.
Yeah.
And yeah, in terms, I think I've explained most of my work in terms of like the thermal simulations, the testing, and the sensor testing. And I also got to do some sort of data analysis, as the other two I think have also done, on some data taken over 2023, which is cool because like from a physics background, like to see like how you're getting these like values, how you're finding out these new measurements from the existing data was a pretty cool, but it was really hard. So.
Oh, good stuff. And how long have you got left in your placement, Leah?
So I have 6 months left.
6 months left.
Yep.
We were saying before this webinar as well how time flies, but I'm sure, Leo, you want the next 6 months to go as slowly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm staying here. Okay, so want to know a bit more about you, Sonia, if that's okay. I'm going to come to you next. So just tell us a bit more detail about obviously your role and what life has been like for you. So what else have you been working on? What else have you been getting involved in? If we can come back to you, Sonia, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So my main project is finding defects in the RF cavities.
Yeah.
So that's partly, and mine is also like a 9-to-5 job. And outside CERN, I like the fact that there's a lot of opportunity to take part in a lot of networking type of events.
Yeah.
Just before the Christmas break, there was the Quantum Techniques in Machine Learning conference, and that was really cool opportunity to learn more about another area, another interesting field. And there was also another workshop called Applied AI workshop at CERN, which is where other groups who are using artificial intelligence in their projects, and they're discussing how they've used it. So it's really outside, when I'm not doing sort of day-to-day job-related tasks, I like attending these type of meetings and getting to know other people at CERN who are working on similar projects.
I can imagine, Sonia, being at CERN, it's kind of crucial to network. Obviously, because there's going to be so much crossover. It's going to help you personally for your knowledge and things like that. It's going to, help everyone to, like you say, pulling all in the same direction. So to get involved in these, extra conferences and, getting involved in these kind of groups, how do you do that? Is that, do you have a buddy that kind of helps you with that, or how does it go?
Yeah, it's quite easy, I would say, because in most of the workshops or conferences are automatically advertised and they're distributed to the wider community by mail. So if you want to register your interest, it's quite easy to do that. And most of them are either held virtually or in person or mixed. And so, yeah, it's really super easy and quite well advertised, I would say, so it's hard to miss. And also through word of mouth, like generally your supervisor or the team may already know events happening. So these are ways you sort of find out about them.
And Sonia, how do you manage your time?
It's an ongoing effort, I guess. Yeah, I sort of, I'm very, I guess, a bit old school. I like to sort of time block my tasks and work on what's the most important priority. And sort of, I guess I have this 3 tasks a day, 3 most important tasks a day, because that you do find that you have lots of tasks and it's sort of your responsibility to figure out what to work on. So I find this pretty useful. And yeah, and then it's also important not to sort of, because it can be kind of easy to overwork and being in a sort of academic sort of research environment. So a lot of my colleagues are better than me, and sort of I sort of watch them and sort of, you know, when it's 5:30, I sort of call it a day and start again the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's as well. You've almost got to do that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because you know you don't want to have burnout, or you know not have that time to come away, because again you might look at it with fresh eyes, kind of thing. Do you feel as though there's that support there though to manage your time? Do you feel as though
Yeah, for sure. There's not like, I haven't experienced like any pressure as such. It's just that it's a very interesting project and you kind of get a bit carried away at
I
times.
can imagine. Yeah, I think
Um,
that's the thing. You've got to almost be a bit self-disciplined as well, haven't you? So right,
Yeah.
I need to step away from this
Yeah.
now. So that's really good that you're doing that. So thank you very much for that. So Laura, I'm going to come back to you. Just to delve a bit more about your experiences so far at CERN. Obviously, you've mentioned that you've always wanted to work there, which I totally get. But yeah, has it met expectations so far? And again, any other things that you've been involved in? Oh, Laura, you're on
You're
mute.
mute.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's definitely met expectations so far. I've got to do a lot of cool things. Like see some of the detectors, like Leo said that he'd been to see some of the detectors on the Large Hadron Collider, which is pretty cool, and see some of the magnets for the Large Hadron Collider, like where they're built.
Right.
right.
Do
how
they
they're
build them
built.
on site, do they?
They put them together on
Oh, do they?
site,
Yeah.
like they assemble them together. So was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention before that I work in the mechanical measurements lab. So we're working mostly with kind of like the research and development phases of a lot of projects rather than like the actual experiments themselves.
Yeah.
And I am / will be working mostly on like sensor development with fiber optics. So using fiber optics to measure things like strain of materials in cryogenic temperatures or high temperatures, or strong magnetic fields or fields with high radiation as well.
So Laura, how do you decide and kind of carve your own career then within CERN? Do you kind of get given a project and then see how you like it? If you like it, you can stay there, or can you move on? How does it work for you in your role, and how do you kind of progress into those areas of interest?
Yes, so when I applied, I was given, well, I think we all were, it's like certain projects that you can apply for specifically. So I actually applied to do this job specifically, which is working on fiber optics sensors in cryogenic temperatures. So that is what I will be looking at for, I think, the 2 years. And I guess if that develops into something else within that 2 years, then I will, carry on researching that. But at the moment, it is just the cryogenics.
Focusing on.
And to be quite honest, I'm not too sure what happens after the 2 years. I guess I'll find out.
Yeah, what actually does happen then after those 2 years? Sorry,
Priscilla.
Yes, some people, they build their career here at CERN starting as early as a summer student intern for about 2 months or 1 month. Some others, like Laura, Laura is actually a graduate, but some others as Leo, like as a student for 1 year, and then these students are just about to finish their master's degree or their bachelor's degree, or they go back for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, apply to CERN for an early career origin program, stay up to 3 years, whilst at CERN, a vacancy for a limited duration staff contract, which is aimed at experienced professionals, comes up in their team, or any other team at CERN, and they apply so they can stay here usually for an additional 5 years, plus get an extension for 3 years. And in between these 8 years, they can apply every other year, depending on their team's situation, for an indefinite position, which is called at CERN, which usually you know as a permanent position in the UK. So it varies. There are so many different types of contracts that people can jump in and out of various different contracts.
Brilliant.
But then, yeah, even for those students or graduates, for example, that want to go back to their home country or anywhere else, like CERN has a really big community, and like since we're so many people from different backgrounds, and then lots of people going abroad again and working somewhere else or starting their own company, you know, we have all those communities that publish job opportunities outside of CERN as well. So we do see CERN as a jump start or springboard for your career as well.
Yeah, and you can almost
definitely.
run it in parallel, I guess, couldn't you? You know, have you separate, then come back, and then that's a good point to make. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so I want to kind of move away from the day jobs a bit, because we've spoke about all the amazing experiences that you get at CERN and your kind of life outside of the day job and the extracurricular activities you all get to be involved in. So Lee, I'm going to come to you. We've talked about, you know, being able to, Laura mentioned about being able to ski at the weekend. You mentioned you're also going snowboarding, but what other things have you been involved in at CERN that's kind of away from your day job?
Yeah, like outside of like CERN very much understands like a job is just a job, and like outside they really give you like the space to enjoy yourself, and like they give you like lots of like days off and holidays and stuff, which is really nice. Like it's such an international place here. Like firstly, you get to meet people from all over the world, and they're like really cool. You get to immerse yourself in different cultures, like different ways of thinking, which is really nice. And also, like, I guess we're in Switzerland, you know, you're surrounded by these like wonderful lakes and mountains, and like everyone here is really active. And like for me, who loves activities and trying new things, like I've spent the past 6 months doing stuff like rock climbing, caving, like via ferratas. Like every weekend I'm out like in the mountain or doing something, which is like I never thought I'd be able to do, which is really lovely.
And I think as well, I would say if you're interested in applying to CERN, you know, I think, you know, Priscilla, you nailed it. Or was it Barbara when you said you don't have to be a Nobel, you know, prize winner. You just want people that are wanting to learn, wanting to go out there and wanting to try something new and get an experience. And even at how, you know, again, that work-life balance that CERN's offering, it seems as though they're encouraging that as well out there. They're encouraging you to go and try something new, go and live it and experience it whilst you're here. So yeah, perfect. I love that, Leo. It seems as though you are really, really living the CERN dream. So Sonia, I'm going to come to you. Any other experiences that you've had outside of the day job? You mentioned about additional training and things, but anything else?
CERN offers a lot of training as part of your ongoing professional development. So I have an upcoming SRF workshop, and I've asked my supervisor, can I do some training on how to give scientific talks, because it's not something that I've done a lot of, and I think that'll be quite handy. But also sometimes CERN feels a lot like a giant uni campus because of the huge amount of clubs it hosts for the people who work here. So skiing is one of them, but also things like book club, to if you play an instrument, to climbing and hiking, and even things like women in tech meetups. So there's so many chances to meet people outside work and find other areas of interest while you work here.
Perfect. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Sonia. And Laura, have you got anything to add to that one as well? You're on mute again.
Just the same as what the other two have said. You know, I live in Geneva, more in the centre, so it's a nice combination of being in a city but also having so much nature around you. You can just go for a walk, or you can go to the mountains. It's like an hour away to go snowboarding or hiking, swimming in the lake, that kind of stuff. And it's just so easy to go and do things at the weekend. And as Leo said, they kind of promote quite a good work-life balance here. So at the end of the day, like that's it.
Yeah.
You can just go home and you can just have a life outside of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got all this amazing stuff on your doorstep, which is
Mm.
is absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to talk next a bit about misconceptions or preconceptions. So something I feel like we've talked about already is, you know, the idea that I think sometimes, you know, have you got to have done physics to go and work at CERN? Absolutely not. You know, CERN recruit from all STEM disciplines. So I want to see if any of you had any misconceptions before joining CERN, and if you could tell more about, you know, what the actual reality is. So Lee, I'm going to come to you on this one first, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest misconception I had about CERN was it'll be filled with like these super smart, but also like intimidating, like straight-faced professors, scientists who like, you know, no nonsense.
Yeah.
Like the smart part, like of course, like the people here are like so creative, like the ways they solve problems and like how unique like each one of their ideas are is like incredible. But they're so far from intimidating. They're like really, really lovely. I guess they're just like we're all like really passionate about what we're doing. And I guess like that comes through. Like we're sort of united by our interest, which is physics, or in terms of like even if you're like, I don't know, in engineering or IT, you're interested in like working on something that is used to like perform physics and find out more about like our universe. So I think like they're really, really patient. They're like, if you make mistakes, they really just like they understand, like they're human, and they're really, really lovely and understanding when it comes to training new students or yeah.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what brings you all together, you've all got that same passion, haven't you? You want to find the answer, you want to know more. So yeah, it's really great that you've said that. But yeah, the brightest minds, with no misconception that they're not there to help. They're absolutely there to ask questions. So brilliant. That's really good for you from you, Leah. Sonia, next, did you have any misconceptions before joining CERN?
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize how a lot of the research branches out in different areas. So of course, physics in terms of particle physics, but a lot of that research is applicable in areas like medical science, environment, and like astronomy. So it's sort of interesting how it's not just limited to one area. And I didn't realize that how broad the research could really apply to these other areas. Which is really interesting.
Yeah, and a bit like Barbara said, you with your admin role. So yeah, anyone applying, if you've got any friends that maybe not from a STEM background, you know, why not get your application in? So absolutely. And Laura, have you got anything to add to that one in terms of misconceptions?
I mean, my biggest misconception was the same as Leo. I thought that everyone would be really smart and that if you had a gap in your knowledge or you needed help with something, they'd be a bit, you know, why don't you already know this? Or I guess because they're so knowledgeable, but actually it's the opposite. They're so happy to just share their knowledge and help you with things. And again, like Leo said, they know that it's the first time that you've worked on something like this for a lot of people. So they're happy to help and they're really friendly.
Oh, perfect. Well done. Thanks, Laura. And I think we're going to touch upon relocation, because obviously you've all gone through the relocation part of joining CERN. So I think we're going to come to you, Carla, on relocation.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Thanks, everybody. So, we, you know, said the roles are based in Geneva. And Barbara, so tell us all about the relocation package and how CERN helps students relocate.
Yeah, definitely. Since we're kind of sitting across the border a bit, the first question everybody has to ask themselves is like, do I want to live in Switzerland or do I want to live in France? And of course, there's ups and or up and downsides to both of those places. I mean, if you want to live in Geneva, you're right in the city. Lots of bars around, shops, and so on. The lake, kind of like in your garden or front yard, and then if you want to live in France, you might be closer to the mountains and it might be a bit cheaper as well, you know. Yeah, that's kind of the first question. Of course, we always, if you're traveling or relocating from outside the area, we do support with additional financial support like travel allowance, or for graduates, relocation benefits. But then in the end, I mean, it's up to you to find your own place. CERN obviously supports. We have our own CERN marketplace where people post any openings or rooms, flats they might have or rent out. We use a lot of Facebook groups, or people kind of build their own networks a bit. And then, of course, we have the hostel as well, that I mentioned before. So on our CERN site, we have our own CERN hostel, where especially I think students and young people stay for their first few weeks or months to kind of then find a place while they're in the area, and they can visit apartments and so on. So there are all those options. And then since we do have so many different programs, different durations, we have visiting scientists or people who just come here for a few months to do their research and then they leave again. There's a high turnover, so there's always availabilities, always rooms freeing up, even sometimes a week or two before you come to the area and move here, like you find your place. So it's not as scary as it sounds in the beginning, I'd say.
I was just going to say that it shouldn't put you off, because there's obviously lots of help and support there, and everybody's in the same boat out there trying to find the accommodation. So Barbara, tell us all about the application process, what that looks like.
Yeah, so of course the first step is to hop onto Gradcracker and visit our organization hub and find the job that's for you. And then once you found the right fit, you can apply online. So there's a short form that we ask you to fill out, just a few questions about yourself and your experience or educational background. And then obviously you have to upload all the required documents. So for example, for students, this is usually the CV, a transcript of records, and then also a recommendation letter by someone from your university. For graduates, it's their CV and then their diploma, just so we know, kind of can assess if you're fit for the role and eligible. And then something I want to mention, like we do ask for your CV, but then also in the form we have those two fields that ask for your educational background and experience. And even though like you already talk about that in your CV, it's really important to fill those out as well, because it's kind of the first thing we see when we open your application. So if you want to make a really good impression, make sure to have something there as well, and kind of explain what you've been working on or studying. And
Can
then
I just jump in there?
Yeah,
Sorry to be a real pain. But sometimes when I speak to students, especially if they're applying for, say, a placement opportunity, maybe less so if they're applying for a graduate one, the worry when it says about experience, because they're thinking, what kind of experience do you want to see? You know, they might never have worked in industry before. So for you, what would be a good example in that box? What kind of experience are you wanting to see there, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot?
totally. So I mean, of course, this is not mandatory because, as I said, we don't expect you to have a lot of experience or any experience. We're here to train you and to kind of be that first step in your career, even. But you can also include any university project you've been working on, or volunteering experiences. Yeah, just any
that's
experience
what
in
I wanted
your
you to
past.
say. Yeah, because I think sometimes students worry, don't they, think when they say experience, or it thinks, oh God, what, you know, I haven't got any industry experience just yet. What can I mention? You know, what is going to be the right thing to say? So perfect answer. So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. And then then Priscilla's and my team, us in talent acquisition, we review all those applications and we have a look, and once we mark them as complete and eligible, then you're invited to a video interview, but that video interview is asynchronous. So if you do it for the first time, it can be a bit intimidating or weird because there's not going to be another person on the other end. So you're kind of shown a question and then you have a minute to think about it and then 2 minutes to answer, for example. But it's the questions are not hard to answer. So they're about yourself, you know, introducing yourself, talking about maybe a project you're really proud of that you've worked on in the past. And it's not mandatory either to complete this. So if anybody doesn't want to do it, that's fine for us. We won't kick you out of the process. But it's really an opportunity to kind of showcase your motivation, your passion, to support that, to tell us not only what you can contribute to CERN and our projects, but also what you want to learn when you're here and kind of what you're expecting. So that's definitely an important step to do. And then At the same time, I mean, we all had to do it, you know, like everybody working
Yeah,
at CERN or almost everybody went through the steps. So we do know how nervous you can be and how nerve-wracking it might be. So we take that into consideration. So it's nothing to be scared about. We know how nervous you can be and
You've been there,
you might
Barbara, haven't you?
stutter and yeah, exactly. So yeah, after this step, so we give you a deadline for completing this interview, and then we give all our hiring managers access to all the applications, and then they review them from, you know, a technical or administrative background, and they really know what they're looking for. So then they have a look, and they might contact students or graduates for a Zoom interview or a phone call or via email, kind of to tell them more about the project they're hiring for, and to get to know the students better and graduates. And then we usually have a selection moment. So that's really when when hiring managers together with us in talent acquisition, they kind of make their decision and tell us who they want to hire. And that's when everybody gets notified of results as well. So we don't leave you hanging and kind of in the open. So even if your application is unsuccessful, which might happen the first time, then we let you know and we don't leave you in the dark.
Perfect. And turnaround time then, so from applying, if a student is successful, how quick can that process be?
So since we get we have so many hiring managers looking through the pool of candidates, it's quite long, I'd say. So for example, the technical studentship, which closes mid-March, the 11th of March, for this round, we have the selection beginning of June. So in those months, that's when hiring managers can reach out to students and get to know them and so on. And then the earliest start date would be usually 2 months after, 2 to 3 months, also depending if you need a visa and so on. And that's obviously something we support with as well.
Fantastic. And hints and tips then. So I'm going to come to both of you, Priscilla and Barbara. So I don't know if you would take a better breath, Barbara, and come to you, Priscilla, first. So what hints and tips would you give students to make them shine throughout the interview process?
Okay. I'll say some words. I just wanted to get back. Actually, we were talking about the future of CERN, the future of high physics quickly, and when it was going to start. And I was like, I didn't know by heart because it's been a while that I haven't been, in touch with the FCC, like recent developments. But actually, like I'll be retired by the time it's going to be, if it does proceed. We are talking about 2 decades, minimum to start everything. We're not even confirmed if it's going to be done. So anyway, not to leave.
I proper put you on the spot there. So.
You did. I'm like, what?
Just the future of
CERN, please. Okay, I shall study more, this evening about the FCC.
Sorry.
And tips and no problem at all. Tips and hints. One thing that I wanted to make clear: only 3% of the CERN professionals are actually physicists. Just to emphasize how, yes, they are the core of CERN. They are the reason we are here, our particle physics study, but we have a whole supporting structure of people that works and are experts in various different areas in many different engineerings. So the first thing, actually, we, as you mentioned at the beginning, Jessica, we are partnering with Gradcracker for already 6 years, and for sure for the years to come, because it is the most successful platform for us in the UK when it comes to attracting students. So please keep checking out our profile on Gradcracker. But when you apply actually to CERN, there is one of the questions is to feel your motivation, why you're applying to this program. So make good use. I feel like it's just a classical tip, but take time before you even submit the application. Put out in a Word document or any other sort of supporting tool that you wish to, about what do you think that CERN what you can contribute to CERN, and what also CERN can contribute to your career. So because it's a mutual contract. If you want to add documents as well, such as a cover letter and references, do so. Some jobs are not mandatory references, like the early career program. So when you are a graduate, students are mandatory. If you want to submit more than one reference, you can. Just make sure that you upload those documents before submitting as well. Another one that people think, really, you're talking about it, but it's so important. Submit a neat application. What I'm talking about. So when you fill your basic information on the Smart Recruiters, which is our applicant tracking system to apply to a position to CERN, you apply via Gradcracker, but it's gonna bring you to the Smart Recruiters application. There is a part that is your work experience, which Barbara touched on it, and also the importance of filling manually this, and the educational background. In the educational background, leave it to only like university academic qualifications, or if you didn't go to university, this kind of in the UK NVQ and BTEC qualification. So these professional qualifications that are like, they really gave you a 1, 2, 3 years, 4 years, or even more, a degree or a certification. So avoid, for example, adding there lists of like summer courses, like I did a Java 10-hour course online, because it becomes so big for a recruiter and for a supervisor to kind of like, okay, where is actually I don't want to say the other ones are not relevant, but what are the crucial to CERN? For example, for the student program, is that you are a bachelor or a master student, and leave the extracurricular to somewhere else in your CV, like additional courses that complements you and make you a well-rounded candidate to CERN.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, last but not least, when we mark your application as complete, recruiters, and we send this video, the recorded interview that you can do on demand whenever you like, and it's going to be attached into your application. So we have the static application and the video just to support your static application, which is called the modern hire for us. When you are giving examples, if it comes to questions about describing projects, etc., use the STAR technique. Just search what the STAR technique means, but it's going to support you not losing crucial points to describe something that you achieved or a project you were being involved on. So it stands for a situation to give you the context of a specific challenge you faced or project. Task, what was your role and responsibility? A lot of people, a lot of students and graduates, professionals, when they come to explain the task, they focus too much on the team. Oh, the team had to do A, B, and C. And the team did. It's okay. We always work in our team. But in that particular moment, don't forget what was your responsibility on that particular task and project. Action, so overview of what you've done. And main steps of the project. And then the STAR is results. What did go well? How was the feedback? What could have improved? Any lessons learned? And so on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect snippet. Barbara, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Just Priscilla mentioned the motivation, and that's quite important. And I just want to say, like, be specific in your motivation. So we do see lots of applications that just say, it's always been my dream to work at CERN. And while like we totally get it, and we agree, it's important for us to know, as Priscilla said, to kind of know why you want to work at CERN and what you want to learn from the project here or your time here, and then also how you can contribute and what you've learned before and so on. So that would be my tip. Just be very specific in your motivation.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you very, very much. I know we're overrunning, but I do want the cool and interesting facts about CERN, because I think they are going to be cool and very interesting. So I'm going to scoot around the room, and Leo, I'm going to start with you. So what is your interesting cool fact about CERN?
Okay, so one cool fact I think is CERN doesn't just collide photons to discover new particles. They also have an experiment which makes their own antimatter. So this is called the ELENA, and it's their antiproton decelerator, and it makes around 100 billion antiprotons a day. And like when I first heard this, I was like, since learning physics, we talk about at the start of the universe, all the antimatter disappeared because they were annihilated. And it's like crazy to think about, like, we haven't had this much antimatter since the very start of the universe. And like I was like standing in the experiment, and there's like just these vats or like these places where they store these like anti-hydrogen, which they make by like getting an anti-proton, getting an anti-electron, and just like making them meet. And like things like that, it's just like, it's incredible how far we've managed to come.
Yeah.
And like just standing in front of it, I was like, this is like really cool. But
And
yeah,
you're
that's very
part of
interesting.
it, Leah.
This is story. How does that describe what you mean by story? What in like?
So I mean, I don't think it's like glass. You can't see it. So it's like they use a magnetic field to sort of trap
Right.
the antimatter, and I think they can probably hold it for like a couple of hours. Like it's not like a long time storage, but like they can keep it there without like, because the problem with antimatter is the second it comes with normal matter, it just like disappears. So they're trying to like keep it there and like not let it touch real matter, which is quite hard to do in a world of real matter. So yeah.
Blows my mind.
I know it blows my mind as well. Thank you very much, Leah. And Sonia, what would be your cool fact?
Yeah, just echoing from Leo, as well as the amazing scientific achievements at CERN. The World Wide Web was also originally conceived at CERN and developed here as a way of exchanging and communicating ideas between scientists. And since then, it's sort of grown to how we interact today. So there goes also different ways of how research and innovation takes place here.
Yeah, wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Sonia. And Laura?
My favorite fact is that the Large Hadron Collider is colder than space.
Oh, and how cold is that?
So the Large Hadron Collider is about 1.9 Kelvin or minus 271 Celsius.
And I'm moaning because it's -4 today, so that's going to be very cold. Thank you very, very much, everybody. What can I say, Jess?
Carla, can I just say something?
Of
Sorry.
course you can, Priscilla, go for it.
Jessica and Carla, and I always see you're so curious to ask these questions about, okay, but where do you store these particles? What happens? How do you dispose it? Where do you dispose it? When you when you come to visit us, visit us, we can ask all these questions offline, like to Leo, and yeah.
We're going to go visit CERN, basically, aren't we, Jess? So one day before we were going to go and visit before COVID, but now it's definitely going to be in the diary for the next coming years. But thank you very much, everybody. It's been an amazing webinar, as always, with CERN. Don't forget to get your applications in. Go to the CERN Hub on Gradcracker, apply, follow, and then hopefully in the next couple of months you'll meet Barbara and Priscilla. So good luck. Me and Jess are back on Monday, so not Thursday next week, Monday next week when we're joined by Experian. But for now, thank you all for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll speak to you all again soon. Good luck with your applications. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.